Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Home Performance Advocates podcast. Glad to have you listening. Join us today because we have another special guest with us. This is TJ from Supreme HVAC, and we're going to get started and talk a little bit about TJ's story and the company that he runs, and then how that relates to home performance, as well as some stuff he sees with the industry. If you ever want to know when a new episode is coming out and see more, because we tend to have good special guests on, like Amanda Hatherley, the CEO of BPI. You can follow this on either Spotify or YouTube. That way you stay updated and know when we have a new special guest or a new topic approaching as we transition out of our manufactured home series into a series more on heat pumps in coming weeks. So let's start off the bat. TJ, just give us a little bit of an introduction about yourself, and then also kind of how you got into the HVAC trade, and tell us about your company.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate the
Absolutely.
invite. I've been doing HVAC for about 25 years. I was kind of born into the industry. Honestly, I'm third generation. I didn't really have a choice. I had a choice, but I chose not to. Very convoluted, but yeah, I've tried to get out of it, and that didn't work either.
Just keeps pulling you back.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's a good thing. It's a great trade. HVAC is consistently changing and growing, and it's a really positive thing, just staying on top of everything.
Yeah, TJ, why don't you tell us a bit about your company specifically and how you got that up and running, and what that process looked like, and yeah, why you even decided to start a company doing HVAC.
Okay. So the business originated from demand, really. I mean, like I told you earlier, I tried diligently to get out of the business for other reasons, and my phone just continued to ring, and I would help people that were friends and neighbors and stuff like that. And then kind of just got to a point where I felt like it was the right thing to do, and the honest thing to do is to start a company. And I still haven't done any marketing, so
Word of mouth has worked.
Word of
pretty well
mouth has
for
worked
you.
for me.
Yeah.
And what we do is working, so that's
Absolutely.
been a big thing for me too. That's reassuring.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
for
sure.
quality speaks. Yeah. Volumes, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, as you were trying to stay out of the HVAC world, right, you got pulled in because you're honest and you actually want to do quality work, which can be hard to find in some places, right?
Well, and I mean, running a business aside, like doing it for yourself brings a lot of passion back into it, because not only is it your name that you're protecting, but you're just trying to do the right thing always and help people out in the best way you can.
And there's probably a level of freedom associated with working for yourself as opposed to working for a separate HVAC company that's not your own. Obviously, there's more responsibility there,
As you
but
say, freedom and stress.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of benefits in that, like you can get a little bit more competitive.
Yep.
If you want
Yep.
to work with somebody specifically and like are trying to, close a job, or you think this would be a great one for your album or what have you, you can get it a little bit more personal that way.
you're not
Versus
confined to like a
A
pricing
price
structure.
book,
Yeah.
Yeah, and tell me, how many people do you have working for your company?
So right now I have 3 people, like, not including myself, and I've got 3 more starting in November. So,
Oh, wow, all at once.
it's
Doubling up.
things are definitely escalating.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that's
it's been really good. I think, like, for me, my biggest concern is like making sure that everything's done, I don't want to say my way, but the right way.
right.
And we never lose sight of quality, and the value doesn't ever fall for the homeowner.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you go from just yourself to having employees? Like, you say, and then we'll move to the how you're going to manage the double of your team. But how did you go from that step of just yourself doing this to having 2 or 3 employees?
The workload increased, so I was unable to do everything myself, which is still kind of a hard thing for me to let go all the time.
Hmm.
But, and I know we're going to dive into this a little bit more later, but with what we do, the systems are a lot of it more intricate than the standard system. So I try and send my guys as much as I can to Blue Sky and train as much as possible and other, factory service trainings and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it Parker? Someone always says, how to manage training. Well, what if I train my guys and they leave? It's like, well, what if I don't train my guys and they stay? All right. I can't remember if that was, maybe it was you, TJ, who was telling me that.
It was.
That was
I
TJ,
say
yeah.
that all the time.
I did take it from
Good
him,
quote.
so I'll give you that quote. But yeah, I do. I say that a lot now after I heard TJ say it because it just rings true.
Yeah.
Right. It's embarrassing if someone is doing terrible work for you, right? But if you train them to be really good and they go out and they do really good for someone else or their own or whatever, they're doing great work, right?
Absolutely.
It feels
Still
good.
a net positive.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and a lot of like the way the industry was like when I grew up, a lot of things were like tribal knowledge, if you will.
Yeah.
And to when like you had a really good installer or a really good tech, they wouldn't really communicate on that level of like, hey, this is how you check for this, or this is how you check for that, or that wasn't really a thing when I grew up in the industry. So like I'm trying to change that because I don't want it to come off wrong, but like the more my people know, the less I have to be involved in a sense of the day-to-day workload, if you will.
Yeah.
You're able to touch more people, right? So help more homeowners and help more customers
or
and stuff.
just make sure that we're more thorough is what I'm truly going after.
And it frees you up to prep for things like doubling the size of your team.
Correct.
As opposed to doing the install yourself, you can focus on the bigger picture because you can trust your guys to do quality installs.
I think a really, I don't know, I'm sure other business owners would agree, but like in the next month or so, I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to give phone privileges and email privileges and software access to a CSR, and that's going to be a big deal for me to where I can really focus on what's in front of me and not take
600 calls a day.
exactly, which,
Yeah.
I'm doing or have done since the beginning, but it's just, it takes away from my focus, my attention.
Well, and there's been a lot of studies where if you get interrupted in the middle of something, right, it takes, I don't know, don't quote me on this, it's somewhere like 5 to 15 minutes to get back into the task you're doing. So if an install is supposed to take 2 hours, right, but you get 4 phone calls, well, now maybe
Just
it's
added 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just continually add time and inefficiency, and
I mean, it's almost as relatable as like a REM sleep, like if you wake up to a dog barking, like
You've now broken that sleep
you've broken
cycle.
that good sleep cycle and concentration.
Yep. Now you're just going to be staring at the ceiling.
Yeah.
Trying to get back to sleep.
Where was
I think it's hilarious that you're talking about sleep.
It's a commodity.
Yeah. Jumping in there.
So just for everyone, this guy doesn't sleep very much, so we give him a hard time about getting more sleep.
It's because he's so focused on getting you a quality install, it keeps him up at night.
That could be your marketing strat. When you start if you start marketing beyond word of mouth, although like you said, word of mouth has carried you plenty far.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I had a coworker come up to me and was like, I got a jingle for you. He's like, if you want HVAC equipment that runs like a dream, call Supreme.
That's a good one.
That's
That
pretty
is
good.
pretty good.
We won't
And-
sleep until we get you taken care
Yeah,
of.
that's sweet. That's good.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome. How, when you first brought those people on, and now when you're about to bring more people on, what is the regimen or training schedule that you'll follow with them? Like, will they be with you for a while and then be able to go in the field on their own, or how does that work? What's that
So,
path?
my biggest focus is probably going to be the CSR because she has a lot of great life experience. I've known her my whole life, my adult life anyway, and that's going to be my biggest focus is just to make sure that once again the customers are getting the quality that they deserve and the answers they need.
Mhm.
And there's going to be a dial-in point with everything, where she'll be taking every call and then calling me after.
Yeah.
That's that. But to be honest with you, the two other installers and service tech I'm bringing on, I've worked with for over 15 years in my previous companies.
Okay.
So, and I've trained both of them. So that's kind of a luxury that I've got going for me right
Yeah,
at the
that's
moment.
nice.
Yeah.
Is they know what I expect. They know the standard that I uphold, and
Plug and play, right?
yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
And for your first two employees, Omar and Alex,
Yeah.
had you worked with them previously or were they pretty new to the
so
industry?
Omar specifically, I trained at another shop.
Okay.
And he left, and then we kind of met up at a supply house, and it was about a month after that he called me and he's like, "Hey, I'm looking for other opportunities. Are you hiring?" And it was kind of a back to like, how do you do it kind
Yeah.
of thing. It's like that. He was my first employee full time, and it's like that was a big step.
Yep.
Like not only financially, but you had to make sure you had work for him.
Yeah, a little
So
bit.
I mean, that was once again, I've been very blessed in a way that I keep getting repeat offenders that
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
following me.
So you're not having to start from scratch.
Exactly. Alex, on the other hand, though, has no experience. So he started in May. He stopped me in public because I was wearing my company shirt and was like, "Hey, I'm going to, the local community college. I'm going to start training for this and going to classes for that. And are you hiring? It's summertime. I need a new job." And so he actually was going to do day school, but he's since changed to night school and works for me during the day. He likes it so much.
So what does the training look like for him since he's the newest, least experienced employee? Obviously he's going to school, probably learning a little bit about the trades there, depending on what kind of technical programs they have there. But for you, is it, hey, Alex, you're going to be out with me on an install? Is it virtual presentation content you're presenting?
The Omar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some behind the scenes stuff where we talk about, standard operating procedures and how we handle this situation, how we handle that. But for the most part, the hands-on stuff, you got to get your hands dirty. You got to get cut a few times, like everything in my world, I kind of relate to muscle memory. So like everything's awkward at first.
Yep.
And then like once you do it a few times, then you're comfortable enough to accept and actually interpret what somebody's telling you when they're talking rather than it being like.
So just getting their hands on the equipment enough times to where they
With
start to get,
supervision.
of course,
Yeah.
to where they get into a bit of a flow, to where they feel.
And everybody's a little different, but I would imagine he'll probably spend the better part of the next year and a half or two with Omar
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
directly,
Yep.
like as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Building
Not
So
him
to-
it
up to a
is-
point.
Yeah, and it is generally Omar is doing that hands-on training
Yes.
because you've trained Omar and now you trust that he
And
knows. And then do you check on their work? Is that
so a lot of the times I like to help with the install
Mhm.
just to make sure that and it'll eventually get less, but not only do I check on the install, but I like to go back and do like a QC check. Hey, how did things turn out? You had it for a week or so.
Commission the system.
Yeah, that's
Commission the
awesome.
system. Do you have any questions at this point? Is there any weird noises? It's nice to give them a day, a couple days,
Yeah.
or a week to kind of live with it, since it's
Give you some time to identify any potential
Exactly.
problems. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Well,
So
and
do you
QC
do
is a thing that so many companies don't even do,
yeah.
right? And it's awesome that you do it. Sounds like on every job.
a big part of growing for me is not losing what made us great to begin with.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody who's worked at not even larger companies, but companies, I don't know how I want to phrase it, but it's easy to get lost, especially in HVAC. There's peak seasons and there's shoulder seasons. So like we're really busy from, right now, October through February. And then it'll get really busy again in
June,
late May,
running through summer.
through the end of summer. Yeah. Memorial Day to Labor Day is typically like
Okay.
Black Friday every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's air conditioner's breaking down.
You can just never get to, and when people are hot, they're miserable. So
Yep.
they're
They want
angry,
it now.
They're mean.
Yeah.
Communication is key at any point.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's awesome. And now I think with that training piece we're talking about, let's get into a little bit of like specifically home performance. So understanding how the home works as a system to help you put in good systems.
Yeah.
When did you first kind of enter that like field of study? Because obviously you're here with us. I know you've gone through BPI trainings and that kind of stuff. When did you first hear about that? And then how did you incorporate it into what you do?
So I'd want to back it up a little bit just to cover the fact that like growing up in the trades, you kind of know the order of operations and the way a house is built.
Mm-hmm.
So that was helpful from the get-go. I think I really got into home performance probably.
You were doing assessments, for a bit.
I think it was even prior to that. Like I want to say 10, 15 years ago when we started doing a lot of rebates is when that came to the front, because you want to make sure that you're sizing the equipment right. What other work are you going to be doing in your home? Are you going to get windows, insulation? And some of the program stuff is nice because then we get a little knowledge of what the plans are for the home.
Yep.
But it's not always like that on this typical street call where it's like,
well, sometimes you have emergency replacements,
Absolutely.
And we're in a situation where we can't necessarily follow the retrofit order. That would be ideal, and you got to be able to accommodate for that, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, talk a little bit about how you did some energy assessments for a while too, because I think that probably played a big part in getting your thought process around as the home as a system. You went through the BPI training.
Yep. So when I was trying to get out of the industry, the HVAC industry,
Right.
then I was talking with mutual friends and stumbled across these great guys and was able to get on and do some of the BPI trainings and get certified as a home assessor. And it was easier for me to pick up because of my HVAC background, but it was really cool to see the in-depth of it. And I feel like that kind of sets me apart
Absolutely.
than other contractors in a way that like I see things a little bit different than they do at first glance.
Yeah, how your work is impacting the home and also other work that might be completed. Like
Right.
if the person wants a heat pump and they want insulation and air sealing, you probably can explain to them, hey, weatherize first, then we can size your heat pump accordingly.
Correct.
And that's something that we've noticed in the contractor base is something that's missing. They are very talented and great at what they do in the HVAC world, but no slight against them. They're not familiar with everything else building science related, insulation, air sealing, indoor air quality, everything that goes into the house as a system. So they're not necessarily thinking of it from that perspective. They're just thinking, how can I do a good install for what I was hired to do? Not necessarily thinking about how this is going to impact the rest of the projects that they want to do.
Which can lead to like oversized
Yep.
units when the homeowners do weatherize and or
absolutely.
change the windows or whatever it happens to be.
Well,
right?
about 8 years ago, the industry got away from PSC blowers, permanently split capacitors. And now we have all ECM or variable speed, and which is great, but if your ductwork doesn't support that and your filter gets changed religiously once every 2 years, you're going to pay a fortune in electricity because that motor will overcome what it's up against.
Oh yeah.
And I think another thing that ties back all into this too is like asking the right questions to the homeowners, asking probing questions and like, oh, well, when that happened, what were you experiencing prior? Stuff like that.
Comfort issues, that type of thing.
I'm sure other people in my industry would agree that like when you get called to a house, they'll take you from the front door where you meet them over to the AC.
Yep.
Or they'll take you immediately down to the furnace and like the magic is in the box, and that's not always the case. So like electronics are electronics and things fail periodically for no reason. But then there's also like other reasons, like why did that fail? That failed awfully early, that was premature failure. Like what's happening? Why? What caused this? And I think that's part of the home performance thing is like really opened my eyes to like, okay, well, everything's cause and effect. So why did that happen? Was it a fluke thing? Is there extracurricular activities that are causing this to act a certain way?
And we preach all the time about, get the BPI training, get blue sky training, get building science training. But as someone who's the contractor in the HVAC trade, that's done it yourself, do you recommend that to other HVAC contractors?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the better everybody gets, the higher the like it.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
Yeah,
knowledge is power.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's just tied to HVAC. If you're an insulator, you're run an air sealing company, you run a window company, radon mitigation company, whatever it may be. I think all of those contractors would benefit from building science, home performance training, so they can learn more about how their trade impacts the other trades. So the homeowner has the best experience.
Also,
possible.
the health of the occupants of that house, right?
Yeah. And
so if you're doing
energy consumption,
and if you're doing windows, for instance, right, and these windows happen to be super leaky, and now you just tighten this house, but they have an old natural draft water heater. All of a sudden, now you could have put someone in danger. Right? And if you don't know that could happen, happens more with insulation and air sealing, right?
For sure.
And so we always tell companies and people to test after, right? And through a lot of programs require it so that we know leaving the house, no one is in immediate danger, right? But even if you're a home performance contractor, this is a great, I think, sales tool. Right? Hey, we're going to make your house really, really tight and really efficient. But now we need to make sure that there's not a natural draft water heater that's going to fail and backdraft into your house, or now we can size your new system smaller when you have to replace it, right? So if you don't know that all these other pieces exist, then you might oversize the system, or you might put someone in danger, or any numerous
and it's a double-edged sword too, because like for me, perspective is everything. So like when I go to a home for an estimate or no heat or no cool, we're asking these kind of questions. And, if I'm not the only person they've had out in the last year or so. You know, the homeowner's wondering, well, you're here to fix my furnace. Why the hell are you worried about my windows?
Yeah.
You know, like, or what does the insulation matter? You know, like,
Totally.
and without that education piece and spending the time and building
Yeah.
that value, then they get lost and their eyes
Absolutely.
glaze over. And there's a really fine line of like attention span too.
And
you
just
know?
being able to relay the information in a way that's digestible for the homeowner. Like us as technical people, we can grasp that language a lot easier than a homeowner. No slight against them, has no idea what you're talking about. So being able to talk about it in a way to where any homeowner, any person can be like, oh, that clicks.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask the average Karen, what's your R value?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
In your attic, and they're gonna be like, I don't even know
I'll know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I was reading, we always compare like home assessments to doctors trying to identify. We're not just looking for symptoms, we're looking for the cause. I was reading from a doctor the other day. Turns out, I guess, the biggest piece of diagnosis is oral history. Apparently, it's like a 25% is the actual like digging, you know, hitting the knee with the hammer or whatever. 75% of a doctor diagnosis is oral history. So like that's a huge part in diagnosing a home, is knowing the history of the home and then the home performance science behind it of how to connect those pieces.
Yep.
Like a huge thing. It clicked when it's not even a book related to building science at all, but yeah, it just clicked. I'm like, wow, that's huge. I mean, communication, oral history, that's massive. And then like you're saying, plays in, or even tying back to what you were saying way earlier, like word of mouth marketing wise, when you help them understand what's happening more, they're way more likely to tell you about something. They're not left in the dark, you know, saying, this guy just came in, he fixed it, didn't tell me anything. So I don't really know what the problem was. It's going to happen again next year. You know, but you tell people and educate, you know, help them understand this stuff. They're like, yeah, that guy is super good, clear, you know, communicated well with me. I know what the issue was and I know like why it happened and I'm not in the dark about it, you know? So that's big for
and
that
then
market.
we provided some solutions to avoid it in the future, or, you know.
Yeah.
And if it's in a way that you've described information in a way that they can understand and explain to someone else, now the word of mouth gets even stronger because they can go next door to their neighbor and they can say, hey, TJ with Supreme told me XYZ is wrong with this unit and it correlates to this in my attic somehow. It makes sense to the neighbor too. And they're like, oh, I actually might have the same problem. Let me give TJ a call.
Well, and now you just solved their problem.
Yep.
Right? It's not the Band-Aid fix, which is, put a giant system in. Right? It's like, okay, we actually solved their problem. We lowered their bills. We made them more comfortable without adding, you know, another system or, you know, a whole bunch of expense to them or whatever it is. Right? So I think that extra piece can really go a long way, and then they can go to their neighbor. And we've seen this so many times, right? People go to their neighbor, their friend, or whatever, like, hey, guess what I learned?
Yep.
And guess what worked?
For sure.
Right. And it's really cool to be able to see that or hear about it either way. Right. And just like, oh man, I really helped someone and now I can help someone else.
Yeah.
Right. So I think for all of us, we love helping people. Right. And so the more and better information that they have, the more we can help.
Knowledge is power.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Oh, okay. Good. So yeah, with that and the home performance piece, I think maybe now let's transition and talk a little bit about the installs that you do and you know, what kind of equipment you're installing. So let's start with I guess, what do you see trending more nowadays? What are you putting in homes and maybe even what did your company focus on? If you want to hear the answer to that question, you'll have to listen to part 2 of this podcast discussion with TJ Wetzbarger from Supreme HVAC. If you want to know when part 2 is coming out, please follow us on Spotify and YouTube so that you'll always be informed of new content and new guests. Thank you for listening.